All right, it's 2:30 and welcome to today's training team. Last couple of weeks, I want to keep this in front of you. We're going to be diving into DM conversion, but still can't forget what we've been working diligently on is making sure that we're presenting to close all the way from breaking the presentation skill set into a three-tier system, right? Tier one is your basic delivery of this presentation. Tier two is really how do we focus on the tie downs and transitions and making sure that you're getting as many yeses as you can. And also, how do we bring back the benefits fact sheet, right? Bringing back the need and the obvious gaps that a business may have in their overall presentation or in their overall benefit package. And then, of course, tier three is how do we do tiers one and two, as well as in tier three, handling objections throughout your presentation. The other thing that we really started talking about was the role play that's required or necessary. We like to call it the necessary inconveniences of becoming great at something, right? It's a necessary inconvenience. Is role playing simple? Absolutely. Is it easy? No, right? Because again, it's going to take discipline, it's going to take devotion to something. And so, again, you've got to fall in love with the process. And so, just making sure to remind you, don't lose sight of what we trained over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Make sure you're role playing. A couple of other pro tips I want to provide you with is record your presentation at least once. Give yourself something to look back on that while you're working and chiseling away at your craft and at your final work of art, you're able to then compare, right? And then do another recording several weeks later to then see, okay, this is what I was doing this before. Here's what I'm doing now. Another thing, too, I want to encourage you to do is get with your leadership team and do what we call a presentation evaluation. There's actually a form that a leadership team member will be able to fill out and, of course, give you some real life feedback on how your presentation is currently at, right? Is it a tier one, tier two, or tier three level skill? And again, it's never a defining moment, right? Understand when you're seeing the presentation results and how it doesn't define you. It just gives you a great level of awareness of where we need to continue to level up. So the other thing that was staggering was, again, just putting it in perspective. 100% of the time you're going to see gatekeepers. Okay, 100%. So that gatekeeper script should be pretty dialed in at all times. The decision maker script is again something that we use 33% of the time or 30% of the time. So just want to make sure that you're not losing sight of what the numbers say, and that's the national average is about two presentations a week. That's what we're seeing per agent. And again, two role play or two sessions only and no role play. That's not enough to really build a skill set. So how do we put together a system? Number one, role play during before or after working hours, and of course your green time. You don't want to utilize that. The other thing too is role play before each appointment, right? Role play before each appointment. And then, of course, lunchtime, another critical opportunity for you to be role playing your presentation. It's not something that you can afford to look over. You have to make sure that that's part of your daily practices because our goal is to continue to strive towards $8 million. And we can't do it without having a skilled team that knows how to go out there and present to close and close to enroll. So, anyway, diving into the next step, right? We're going to be talking about DM conversion. And I'm excited to go over this with you because, again, we've got several new people to the call. But again, we've got some seasoned veterans that have been with us for several years, got a few that have just hit their 1 year mark, and then we still got some that are within their first 90 days. And so keeping the basics in front of all of you so that we can stay brilliant at the basics is what our core should always be a part of. And so moving right into it, guys, I want to remind you of the steps of what it takes to convert a DM at a high level. And we're never going to lose sight of this because it's going to be one of those things that builds trust, and that's rapport. Now, not just any rapport. You want to build rapport using that research. That's part of our systems. That's part of our process. One of the things that makes us stand out better than anything else is making sure that you're doing your research. You did your homework. You saw a lot of value in finding out about the business, and that's something that resonates well with someone that's emotionally intelligent in the business world. And so again, just make sure you're doing that. That's going to give you a lot. Of course, then we've got our 30-second commercial. If you want to write this down, I like to call this the EOS, explanation of services, EOS. And it has to be world class. When you're delivering it, are you delivering it with conviction? Are you delivering it with tonality that allows them to feel what it is that you're saying? Can they see the value of it, saving them tax dollars and it costing them $0 to do it? And the rebuttals, right? Are we tying down after the 30-second commercial and are we rebuttaling appropriately? That's another one that tends to I would say we're going to get 3 to 4 pretty common objections. We have 8 in total, but I think there's 4 of them that really come up, and we have to make sure that we're sharpening those in at all times. And so, of course, you've got your presentation and appointment, which leads to the conversion, and then of course you've got your close. All right. Now, here's something I want to recommend for the agents in the crowd and even supervisors. Communicate with your GAs effectively when you're having your midday, end of day calls, or even your morning calls. Really take a look at the worksite system, right? If you're seeing a DM conversion that is not the way it needs to be, or, are we doing all the controllables? All right. If we're missing a step, communicate that with your GA. They're going to get it to the AD. The AD is then, of course, going to do a great job of communicating what the training needs to be around with, of course, the team and everything else. So again, break down the process. So a couple of things I want to remind you, there's 2 types of major rapport, okay? Observational is the most common. This is where, again, you're going to see something that catches your attention. It's going to really be an opportunity for you to, build a conversation. But here's the thing that you have to be thinking about is observational rapport is the most, like I mentioned, commonly used rapport. Everybody uses it. The same plaque on the wall, the same plant in the office, the same pictures on the desk. It's not that it's a bad way to segue into a conversation, but it's just something that may put you in the same class or group as other people that have been in that business. So it's good to use, but you want to always pivot into the research, okay? And that's where you're utilizing the research or utilizing the family, occupation, recreation, or me method when really trying to build that relationship. So in many cases, when I'm building rapport, feel free to build observational rapport, but then also bring back the research that you did, right? So when I'm going in, I'm saying, hey, John, good morning, man. I was walking in and I noticed that there's a Pontiac outside. Is that a 67 or 69? Man, it's a beautiful color. When'd you get it? Awesome, man. Well, listen, my name is Bruce, by the way. This is Brian. We did a little bit of research before we came in and saw that you guys actually donated to several nonprofit organizations in 2025. Let me ask you this. When did you get inspired in doing that, right? Hey, I also saw that you're bringing up a new product line. Now my conversation goes from the observational to the research that I did. It creates a natural and like a prepared approach to the dynamic that you're trying to represent. So just make sure you're understanding the differences there. Now, the 30-second commercial is pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to keep it in front of you. This is, like I mentioned earlier, the EOS system, right? The EOS, explanation of services. It has to be world-class. It has to be short and simple, but also bring the value of what it is that you're there to do. So, John, my name is Bruce. I'm with Liberty National. We saw that you may qualify for our Worksite Advantage program. And what that does is it helps you provide valuable benefits to your employees while creating a tax savings for your business at absolutely no cost whatsoever to your company. Now, I realize you may be busy, but it's now a good time. Is now a good time. Now, for the people that are new in the group, and we've got a few that are still learning and mastering the presentation aspect of it, one of the key strategies that we train and develop is, work on really getting that appointment setting down, right? So that way, when you do get an appointment set within the next 72 hours, you've got a manager that's able to look at their 4-week forecast and get you on their calendar to be able to go to that appointment with you. And so instead of saying, is now a good time, you could say, I realize you may be busy. I typically work by appointment. I've got some time available, my man, this coming Thursday at 8 a.m. or later that day as well as 2 p.m. Which one of those 2 times would work best for you on Thursday, right? So now I'm going for the appointment. And so, again, you can either, if you're a seasoned veteran like myself or any of the other people in leadership, definitely go for that on the spot, right? A lot of opportunity that you can get. Now, here's the deal, too. That one opportunity that you get the DM in front of you could be the one and only opportunity that you get to see the decision maker until the next one. So when you get the decision maker, developing the presentation skill set at a high level is going to give you a huge advantage so that when you do get in front of the DMs, you can go for that on the spot presentation. You can go for that on the spot presentation. And so when that happens, it builds so much more momentum in the relationship building and the value that you bring. They now know a little bit more about you, about what we do, and overall more about our products and our process. And so now there's a follow-up strategy that is backed by credibility and history. So again, 30-second commercial is your EOS. Make sure you have that down. And then, of course, one of the things that we always encourage people to know before they go into their 30-second is knowing how to transition into the 30-second commercial, knowing how to transition out of the 30-second commercial, right? And so when I'm going in, first thing I normally do is I utilize the decision maker's name the moment I see them coming down the hall or whenever they open up the door to come into the lobby. Is, hey, good morning, John, right? Or hey, you must be John. Pleasure to meet you, my man. My name is Bruce. This is Brian. And again, we did a little bit of research before we came in. And of course, being in business for 30 years, having been a staple here in the community, what are some of the key contributors to your success, my man? I saw that you're actually opening up a new location down in Kissimmee. Tell me more about that, my man. I mean, I'm a business owner myself, so I'm just curious as to how you did it. Awesome. Again, my name is Bruce. That's typically my transition out of the 30-second, actually out of the rapport. So after I have pretty much read the room and I've got a good sense that there's a relationship there, I can always transition into the 30-second by resetting it and saying again, right? Of course, I'm going to respond to their response. Okay. So if I ask them about the research and they give me a response, I'm always going to compliment it. I'm going to say something else. And then I'm going to go straight into, again, my name is Bruce. This here's Brian. We are with Globe Life Liberty National Division, my man. And of course, in doing research, we also saw that you may qualify for our Worksite Advantage program. Now, the cool thing about our program and what it does is it helps you as an employer provide valuable benefits to your employees while creating a tax savings for your company at absolutely zero cost to your business. Now, I realize you may be busy. I usually work by appointment, so I got some time available this coming Thursday at 8 a.m., or we can even do it 2 p.m. later that same afternoon. Now, couple of things you want to remember, and of course, I think I'm going to get a little ahead of myself, but notice how my times are coming off specific, right? I know it's a Thursday. I know I got a 7 and I know I got a 2. What I'm doing there is I'm providing the business owner with two options. Business owners don't like to feel overwhelmed. Number one, we're coming in without them expecting us. So we've got to make sure that we've got at least the preparation to give them an easy way of making a decision. And that's making sure you've got your 4-week forecast and your 10 blocks of time dialed in, and then memorizing those times in your head and what days those land on to make the decision making simpler. All right. So typically when I go in and I ask a friend of mine or even my wife, hey, what do you want to eat? They're like, well, I really don't care. I'll eat anything. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you prefer chicken or beef? Right. Awesome. What about Chinese or Mexican? Right. What I'm doing there is I'm utilizing a very similar tactic with the business owners, giving them options. It's just human nature. When I'm going in and I want to set an appointment, instead of saying, hey, you know what time works best for you, John? That's a little overwhelming. What they're going to do naturally, because their time is so valuable and they're constantly in a fast moving pace, they're going to give you what's easiest. And that's going to say, you know what, I'm not interested. Or, you know what, send me an email. I don't have time for this right now. So to mitigate those two, which are pretty common ones, to mitigate those two, you want to make sure that you're coming in with great research to make a solid impression. Your EOS, right, your 30-second commercial has to be delivered in a strong, convicting manner. And then from there, you're going to tie it down with some options. Either you're going to go for the on the spot in that very moment, or you're going to go for that appointment setting later on in the week, or maybe later on that same day. So some pro tips there. Be sure to be thinking about. All right. So a couple of things whenever, for those of you that of course have a presentation that is just out of this world, you've been in the lab, you've been working on it. I know there's a couple of essays that host some trainings over the weekend. And if you've been attending those and you're just like, you know what, my presentation is amazing. I'm ready to take on this opportunity like nobody's business. Something to get you prepared for those on the spot presentations is number one, bring in your iPad, bring in your binder, make sure that you're prepared for that. I know some people, they're like, man, I don't really like taking in my binder. But then again, it seems a little, I don't know, to business owners, you seem unprepared when you're coming in. You know what, Brett, let me go ahead and give me a quick second. I'm going to go grab my folder and then we'll get right into the presentation. That right there, that delay, it just creates an emotional state for the business owner to say, well, that I don't have time for this. And then, of course, from there, you're now possibly losing out on opportunity. So a couple of things, too, when you're going for the on the spot, as you noticed in the scripting, it doesn't say, man, I know you're probably busy. I know you're probably, I realize you may, okay? It's may, you may be busy. I'm not assuming that he is. I'm just saying I'm considering that he may be busy or she may be busy. But making sure your terminology there is strong and not coming from a position of weakness and saying, I know you're busy. I'm not going to take much of your time. Come on now. You bring a lot of value, right? And then, of course, lastly, as you're driving for those on the spots, be ready for a rebuttal there, right? Or an objection of not having any time at that moment. So know your appointment times. You're going to get a lot more conversions coming your way. So lock in there. Now, when it comes to rebuttals, some just pro tips here. Knowing your rebuttals isn't obvious. Okay, many people. I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard your leadership team tell you all about how important it is to have a set of objection handling skills that, of course, excels your career. And I just want to remind you of the simple way of getting to that level, and that's just really role playing. Role playing your way to success that is the admission to success. You've got to pay it, right? There's no shortcuts in being great at what we do, and so you'll be surprised. Follow me on this. You'll be surprised what 15 minutes can do for you. You invest 15 minutes in the presentation. You invest 15 minutes in your objection handling. Those are going to be key pivotal moments in your career over the course of the next 90 days. I promise you. I don't know. I think I remember there was a TED talk that was given that talked about a gentleman that learned how to play the violin in about 90 days. And I think it might have been a little more than that. But even then, all he did was spend about 30 minutes a day consecutively working towards that craft. And he was able to play the violin in an incredibly fast way. So again, it just goes back to don't underestimate what those 15, 20, 30-minute sessions will do for you in this career. You want to give yourself a pay raise, role play, right? Give yourself that development opportunity. We can do whatever we can, but again, it's only going to be enough, right? Like these trainings that we're giving you, the trainings that leadership gives you, right? That's only going to be 50% of your success. Spending that time during your own private time to be able to develop that skill is going to take you even further than what just our training can do. Again, I promise you that, right? Get with your loved one, get with a friend, get with a fellow colleague, somebody on your team, get with somebody on leadership, but role play your way to the top. I promise you it's going to happen. Now, in the process, matching that with a high level of volume, you're going to start to see a massive amount of success. So when it comes to handling rebuttals, be sure to have that mindset that I want to overcome at least 3 objections. Okay. I want to overcome with at least 3 objections. Now, what does that do? Number one, it's going to expose you to more. Again, exposure. I call it exposure therapy, right? Getting into more objections and handling those frequently puts you at a huge advantage over the person that's only going in, handling one objection, and then stopping there. Really getting into that headspace that I want to make sure that I'm pleasantly persistent. I'm not going to be rude either. I'm going to make sure. Here's the other thing, too. By going in and working towards handling 3 objections, it starts learning what we call throttle control. All right? Throttle control. When I'm going into a business, and because I've exposed myself to persistence, I now know how to read the room and know when I can be able to handle more objections or know when to really start laying off on the throttle to keep the relationship in a good standing. So always remember, when I handle an objection, you want to make sure you're always tying down, always. Just like we do on the PAC call, when they ask you a question about what this is about, you answer the question and then you follow it up with another question of what you need to qualify or verify. It always puts you in a good place when controlling the conversation. All right. So always remember, it's now a good time, or whenever you've already given times at work, just deliver those once. Just say which time is going to work, which day is going to work best for you, John. I know we talked about Tuesday at 9, or we even said Thursday at 2. So tie down like your future depends on it. I promise you it's going to see some major results. Just a quick reminder, this is something that, again, is super important. What's the mission, right? We all want to be financially free, but how do we do that? We understand that what we're doing is not burden. It's not a burden. It brings financial freedom. I mean, it brings that financial relief for families that are dealing with the unexpected. As a matter of fact, in 2024, Liberty National Division paid out well over $300 million in claims. That's amazing, right? We're taking care of families each and every year. And I know that number is a lot higher in 2025. But even thinking about what we talked about, maybe some of you during the interview process, remember that 17 million policies in force. That's a huge number, right? And then also our Make Tomorrow Better initiative. This is where our core stands from, is what's the mission? We make tomorrow better, not only by donating and paying our claims, but by also making sure that we've got teams that are in that same mindset that what we do is valuable, all right? So with all that being said, we talked about making sure you're building rapport. All right. We talked about making sure that you're being observational, which is great, and also utilizing that research. Transitioning in and out is the trickiest part, right? Hey, my name is Bruce. This is Brian. We did a little bit of research before we came in, ... And then you, of course, transition into the 30-second by saying, again, my name is Bruce, this is Brian. In doing that research, my man, we saw that you also may qualify for our Worksite Advantage program. And then that's how you're going to create that solid interaction. Be intentional, drive for the presentation, right? Now, a lot of this is going to be from your skill set development, right? Most people that are like, you know what, I want to set the appointment and have a leader come in here. Yeah, I get that. You know, you're within your first 30 to, I would say, 90 days. But if you're beyond that, what may be missing is that role play, right? If you're not ready to do the on the spot presentation just yet, we may need to make sure that you're incorporating, reflecting a little bit and saying, am I role playing enough on my own time to making sure that I'm getting the results, right? Because what we do in private is what we get recognized for in public, right? So just making sure that you're rocking and rolling in that presentation role play is going to help you tremendously. And just remember, guys, we're not a burden. What we do matters. There's families out there that there's we're one decision away from protecting hundreds of families, right? That business owner is the only person in the way right now that's going to help us do and achieve the mission. So we've got to make sure that we're handling these objections, doing the 30-second commercial, tying down when necessary, and of course, building rapport using that research. So here's what we're going to do, guys. I know we've got about 10 minutes left on the clock here, but I wanted to get some quick. We're going to pair up into two groups of 2 or 3. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to role play the decision maker script at least once, and I want you to work on handling 2 objections. So, do that each. We're going to do this for 10 minutes. Be intentional. Let's go ahead and rock it out. If you're new, feel free to utilize your training guide, but we're going to do some role play and get that skill set sharpened up to getting after it this coming week. If you're in the field, don't worry about this. If you've got somebody in the car, feel free to role play, but I think this is going to be super valuable. So I get the clock started now. We've got 9 minutes, baby. Come on. Let's see what we can do. Let's get it. Come on. All right. I see some people partnering up. I love it. Focus on intentionality. Focus on the tonality. I want you to be thinking about your central nervous system, building on that, right? Making sure you're getting that internalized development. It's super important, guys. So come on, let's blow these walls up. Come on. All right, everybody, finish up your last set. This is going to finish up our call. I hope today brought you a lot of value. Let's make sure we're dialing in role play to the top. And I'll see you all again this coming Thursday for a recap. Y'all have a great, blessed day. And let's kick some butt this week. See you, everyone.